Captain America Civil War is the third installment in the Captain America series and one of many in Marvel's cinematic universe. This movie stars a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to even name all of them because this cast is amazing and is about this feud going on between the Avengers. The world is not very happy with all of the things going on with these superheroes, and they want to be able to have some sort of control over what goes on and what they do. So Iron Man is all for this. He's like, yes, this is a good idea. We need to have some sort of control over our actions. Captain America, on the other hand, is like, no, this is a bad idea. We should be the only ones who have a say in whether or not we decide to take part in a fight. Some of the Avengers are on Iron Man's side, others are on Captain America's side, and as a result, this feud goes on between the entire group. And obviously, as the name implies, a civil war sort of breaks out. There's also a villain and a Bucky subplot, which also ties together with the internal feud between the Avengers. And a whole mess of stuff happens, and this movie is great. Captain America Civil War was one of my most anticipated movies of 2016, and I couldn't wait to see it. I was afraid that the hype surrounding it would be too high, and I'd be a little disappointed. But that's not true. In fact, I left the theater very, very happy. However, this isn't a perfect movie. Honestly, there really aren't any perfect movies in the world. And I do have a few things that I was kind of like okay with, but there wasn't really anything that was bad in the movie. First off, the tension between Captain America and Iron Man was excellent. I think a lot of the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films already kind of had this tension, so it was about time that we finally see this huge sort of fight really take off between the two. Personally, for me, I hate it when, characters and friends fight. So watching this film was really heartbreaking because not only was it just Captain America and Iron Man, but it was also just the Avengers as a whole. While it was really awesome to see because, let's face it, who doesn't love a superhero fight? I was also at the same time really sad about all the things going on. And it just kind of was like, man, I really want this all to be resolved. Just because I was being heartbroken by it all doesn't mean that it was bad. It was actually really good because there's a lot of emotional stuff going on in this film. I won't say anything more than that because of spoilers, but I really did like how all of the emotional parts were played out in this movie. And I actually did tear up in this movie, which is just, I'm a crybaby, so I guess that's expected. Black Panther was one of the newest additions added into the movie, and I really, really liked his character. I really sympathized with Black Panther's character, and a lot of his motives, they made sense. He was also really badass, just seeing the little claws coming out. I thought it was cool. And his suit as well, it just looked fantastic. And that's another thing. This movie, oh my gosh, did it look amazing. The CGI was on point, and every battle and action scene, it just had me on the edge of my seat. I will say, though, in the beginning, there were maybe 2 small parts where I felt the CGI was really lacking, but I think that's just because they were spending all their budget on the bigger scenes, which, obviously makes sense. Captain America looked fantastic in this movie, let me just say. And everyone else did too, and personally, this was a better Marvel Cinematic Universe film than Avengers 2 was. This film really focuses on relationships, and I personally loved that. There's a lot of relationship stuff going on with Captain America and Bucky, Captain America and Iron Man, Captain America and Black Widow, etc., etc. I loved it. One of my favorite relationships to view on screen was between Vision and Scarlet Witch. I thought Vision was really cool in Avengers 2, but I think he might have been even better in this movie, in my opinion. In a way, I feel like they kind of humanized him in a bit, which I really enjoyed because obviously this man is super crazy and awesome and not human, I guess. So I think seeing him in a kind of more humanizing way was awesome. I also really liked Scarlet Witch in this movie, and I wish we could have seen a little more from her because she was one of my favorite parts of Avengers 2, and I also loved her in Captain America Civil War. Black Widow was great as always. I love Black Widow a lot, and she looked amazing in this movie. Scarlett Johansson is just flawless. This girl can work it. Out of all of the characters in this movie, I think I side the most with Black Widow, actually, because I feel like if I was in this movie, I would be like her. Like, all the things she did in this movie is something I would have done probably myself. However, I will say I think I am Team Captain America because he makes a lot of good points in this movie. For me, on one hand, while I understand why Iron Man would want this control over their group, I also really empathize with Captain America because obviously the humans aren't going to really 100% understand what to do in every scenario because all of these super magical and enhanced humans, like, you know, all this stuff is happening and normal people can't really do much about it. It would make the most sense for the Avengers themselves to be the ones who are like, okay, we'll take action instead of humans. But with all of these innocent civilians dying, it's like something has to sort of be done about it. One thing I really like about this movie is the fact that it's, I guess, sort of controversial in a way. Like, in this universe, obviously, all this political stuff is very controversial. As a result, I just really wanted to talk about all the things going on in this movie with, like, a friend. This movie is really good in terms of, like, starting up a conversation and, you know, things will get kind of heated if some people are like, oh, yes, like, Team Iron Man, and someone else is like, no, Team Captain America, blah, blah, blah. So, I really enjoy that aspect because I like being able to talk about movies. That's why I'm doing movie reviews now. And I think this movie is really, really good in that way because it'll make a lot of people want to talk about it. Now, I want to talk about my favorite part of this movie. Spider-Man. Spider-Man is without a doubt my favorite superhero of all time. As a kid, he was just always my favorite and I loved his nerdy aspect. And ironically, I thought the spider powers were really cool. I say ironically because I'm a huge arachnophobe. Anyway, Spider-Man I just think is super awesome. And I'm a huge fan of the Tobey Maguire trilogy of Spider-Man films, but I wasn't that crazy about the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So as a result, I was really scared, but also hyped about this new Spider-Man and Tom Holland because I don't know anything about Tom Holland, never seen him before. So I was like, is he going to be able to portray Peter Parker and Spider-Man? While obviously Spider-Man didn't get a crazy amount of screen time, which was to be expected, I loved every single second of screen time we got of this man. Everything about his portrayal was spot on. And while in my opinion he was a little more fetusy than I was kind of expecting because I think Marvel was going for a more younger version of Spider-Man, I think it really worked and I think Tom Holland nailed it. So major props to him. This was amazing. And while I can't exactly judge whether or not I think this is the best Spider-Man we've ever seen or my favorite, just because we haven't had enough screen time, I do really like him a lot. However, Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man as of now just because of nostalgic reasons and we've seen more of him, so only time will tell whether or not Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man yet. But what we've seen so far of Tom Holland as Spider-Man was awesome and I'm so excited for the Homecoming movie. Tom Holland definitely proved that he is a good Spider-Man in Civil War. While I loved Spider-Man, I will say his usage in the movie wasn't completely necessary, and I think if they didn't have him in it at all, the movie still would have been amazing. But I really did like how they put him in there. In a way, I kind of felt like it was how Wonder Woman was kind of thrown into Batman v Superman for the Justice League setup. And while Marvel definitely did a better job of putting Spider-Man in for like more of an actual usage, it kind of felt like, oh, Marvel just wanted to be like, yes, we do have the rights to Spider-Man now. Like, this is him. Here you go. We're not lying. While it wasn't completely necessary, I liked it a lot still. My other favorite part of this movie was Ant-Man. I thought he was amazing and hilarious as I was expecting. And Paul Rudd, he just killed it. Paul Rudd is an amazing cast choice for Ant-Man. Now, one thing I wasn't crazy about in this movie was the villain. While he was good and I understood his motives and I actually sympathized with him a lot, how do I word this? He wasn't like amazing or anything. Definitely not one of the most memorable bad guys in Marvel history, but I think he did a good job in what his motives were. Honestly though, that was my only real gripe with the movie. Bad guy wasn't awful, he wasn't amazing either. And while I guess that's a tad bit disappointing, if you think about it, going into the movie, the main part of it is the Civil War aspect, and that was just amazing. So the bad bad guy part obviously wasn't gonna be like super high end. What he did was good, but at the same time, he's not gonna be like very memorable bad guy where I'm gonna be like in the future, man, that Civil War villain was sure my favorite. The other thing I will say is I kind of wanted a little more out of the ending. While I understand why they ended it the way they did, I wanted more out of it. I'm gonna give Captain America Civil War a 9 out of 10. And buy it on Blu-ray because it's definitely worth seeing in theaters, buying it, rewatching, everything. It's just such an awesome film. Marvel is really nailing it these days. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the review, please let me know how you felt in the comments below and tell me what you thought about the movie, but avoid spoilers. I decided to film in a new location this time around for this review. I'm actually in my living room and hopefully the lighting is a bit better. I know it's still not amazing, but I think it's better than my office. And if you guys have any constructive criticism about my review, the lighting, anything, please let me know. Any help would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's about it, so I'll see you guys next time.